hear an old freight train, and you have to go. I first heard this song in 1974 when a friend of mine bought me this album, and my dad had just passed away a couple years earlier, and it reminded me so much of him that 50 years later I'm still singing about one today. My dad was a guy that when you ask him a question, he kind of give you a short answer if it had anything to do with his childhood. So over the years, I just kind of had to piece it all together. By the way, my dad's the silver guy up in the corner there, in front of the restaurant. That was a bust that was done to him that he traded for another artist somewhere around 1928. So one day, we're sitting down in my dad's workshop, soldering something or putting something together on the CDs, and the thought come to me that, I was about 10 years old, the thought came to me that all the music we got in the house is from New Orleans. And I said, hey, what's the deal with New Orleans? And like he did when he didn't want to answer something, he said, I lived there for a while. I said, when? I'm 10 years old, I'm asking questions. He said, when I was a teenager. So, I said, how'd you get there? He said, I jumped a train. That was the end of the conversation. Said he'd been blessed by a gypsy woman. That's the reason, I guess. He was cursed to live. Later I learned that when my dad was 16 years old, his mom was gone, his dad was gone, he was living with an aunt. He jumped a train and he moved to New Orleans and became one of those guys on Jackson Square selling his art, and we still have. It's going to get here someday. A picture of an old lady selling pralines on Jackson Square that he brought home when he came back and gave to his aunt as a kind of a memory of sorry I ran away. And here's something for you. Came to town back before the war. Didn't even know what it was he was looking for. Carried a tattered bag for his violin, full of lots of tunes of all the places he'd ever been. My dad was one of those guys that when he talks, everybody just listens. I've never been able to get there. I have to yell at people to get them to listen to me. But he's very soft-spoken, but when he started talking, he just knew it was going to be something really cool. Only person I've ever met that I felt the same way about was Morgan's dad, Bob. There's these characters that just have this charisma that you just want to sit back and go, please just talk a little bit more. So I hear something that I'm going to remember the rest of my life. He talked real easy, had a smiling way. He could pass along to you while his fiddle played. All the people there joined in that sound. Everyone in town laughing, singing, dancing around, as if the fiddler's tunes were all they heard that night. His as if some magic dream said, all the world is right. Down here, guys. 1936, my dad had come home and set up an artist shop in Pontiac, Michigan. And there's a place in Walled Lake called the Walled Lake Pavilion where all the famous people of that day played, and they hired him to be the artist guy that sits and does sketches of pretty women in the crowd. And that night, that sketch artist, and my mom was a 16-year-old debutante. And she was a debutante. I finally know that that's what they called her at that time. And she sat down and had my dad sketch her. We still got that sketch. And her story was, he looked at her and he said, you know, you got beautiful eyes, but the rest of your face ain't worth a damn. He contested that opinion. Said that was a really messed up interpretation, but they fought about it to the day they died. But 6 months later, they got married. Didn't tell her dad, Mr. Andrew, for 3 more months because they were scared. They were just plain scared. They were married for 36 years from that day to the day he died. And that's the way it's supposed to be. Fiddler's eye caught a dancing lady there. She had that rolling flowing, dangling kind of hair. Played as if she danced alone. He played all his favorite songs, all the ones he called his own. And after a while, she said she had to go. So he stopped and he packed his bags. He said he'd take her home. And all the nights that passed, the child was born. And all the years that passed, the love would keep him warm. All their lives they'd live, a dream come true. All because she danced so well to his fiddle tune. Well, my dad went off to World War II. Came back in 1945 after fighting in New Guinea and the Philippines. Had gangrene, they brought him home on a stretcher. For a few years he tried to recreate his career as a local artist, and he taught art at Cranbrook Institute. Finally, he did what a lot of soldiers that did come back to, and he got a job at Ford Motor Company, where he worked until the day he died. He was a maintenance supervisor, and his job was mainly making sure that line kept going. In 1968, all of a sudden he got this really cool job with a 2-line title, and all of a sudden he was a big shot. Well, my dad, he said he never knew there was all this mystery going on, but one thing was really cool, he did all these really cool tricks. He could pick a card, he knew what it was, or he'd do a sleight of hands, things. So I heard this story, again, about 1968, which makes me 12. At his first, I don't know if anybody here works for Ford, but the headquarters is the Glass House in Dearborn, Michigan. So here's my dad who comes up from being a maintenance supervisor to a big shot, and it's his first board meeting at the Glass House. And I don't remember, I don't know enough, there was one of the Ford sons, Henry Ford's son was in this meeting, and there's like 20 people sitting around the table. And they call this meeting to order, and everybody's all reverent, you know, Ford's there and everything's cool. My dad says, "Hey, want to see a trick?" And I know this story. I know this story from both people that were at that meeting that couldn't believe he did it. And others recounted it at his funeral. But he looks, Henry Ford Jr., whatever the Ford was, Edsel, somebody, and says, "Hey, want to see a trick?" And he did what was his famous hat trick. And from then for the next 2 years, he only lived 2 more years, and I guess he was kind of the golden boy of the Glass House in Dearborn. So that story kind of went around, and one day we're back soldering or fixing a CB, and I said, "Dad, how'd you learn all these tricks?" And like he would do, he said, "Oh, he knew a magician." He said, "I knew a magician. I used to have a good friend that was a magician." So like any 12-year-old would do, I said, "Well, who was he?" He said, "Harry Houdini." No, I'm sorry, not Harry Houdini. Harry Blackstone Sr. So I had no idea who Harry Blackstone Sr. was, but he was my dad's friend, so I looked him up. Okay, so he's the most famous magician of that era. Never ask any more questions. God, I'd love to know today. Train next morning, lonesome sound, as if she sang the blues, what she took from town. All that I recall, said when I was young, no one else could really sing a song